I'm going to tell you, it didn't happen when I met you. It happened before I met you. But you've been incredibly instrumental in my personal growth in this one. And I wanted to save this interview to tell you this little story. Because as a black man growing up in the streets of New York City, being subjected to so many things I had been subjected to, I remember when, and I revealed this to you when you interviewed me on your show right down the hall, and I talked about how when I was let go in 2009, and so much of it was internalized on a personal level. I got screwed. I felt this way. I should have had this. How do I wake up one day and have 4 jobs, and at the end of the day I got nothing, and all of this other stuff. And then after my mother basically slapped some sense into me, figuratively speaking, by really having me confront my deficiencies, I went about the business of mastering my business. And from that point forward, I've never felt more free. And talking to you years later and talking about business the way that we've talked about business, to me, the greatest thing that has happened to me is that I've been able to capture the ability to depersonalize things. The more knowledgeable I've become about my business, the more I speak the business language to business folks. Once I'm talking about that language, they have no choice but to be compelled to speak to me on that level. And as a result, the personal goes out the window, and all of a sudden it's about numbers, it's about data, it's about facts. And it's depersonalizing. It's a freedom of, the eradication of animosity, the eradication of skepticism, cynicism. Oh yeah, I know you're going to do this, but I know why. Because as a business owner, I might try to do the same thing here. I might have thought about the same thing there. And as a result of that, it's left me free to be able to sit in front of people that I once may have deemed to be a bit shady or whatever the case may be, and have absolutely no problem with them whatsoever, because now I've edified myself even more. Is that what business did for you? Do you believe that's what business can do for the American citizen in this day and age?
It's so amazing. So a couple nights ago, we're having a meeting here with our sales team. And I said, when I was 23, 24 years old, and I'm staying at the office till midnight, and I'm coming in early, and I would tell myself, no one sees this. Do people not realize I'm giving my best? How do you not see me running 6 days a week? I'm not getting the recognition. You're having this conversation, right? I'm somebody. I'm going to be somebody one day, right? And then eventually you realize in life you have 2 things you're flirting with. One is, what's better, for me to be a man of character or for me to have a strong reputation, right? Like when you think about a president, you want them to be liked, loved, feared, or respected. I don't care if you're loved. You shouldn't love, the opponent shouldn't love the president. You should probably like him to negotiate with him, but I prefer fear and respect. But those 4 things, it's not applied to everyone. Like your wife, you want your wife to fear you? No. It's different elements in different places, right? So I used to sit there and listen to John Wooden's, quote about character and reputation. Well, reputation is what other people think about you, but character is who you really are, right? Like focus on your character, not the reputation. I think both matters. So watch what happens. One day I'm in Atlanta, I'm 25 years old. I become a broker in the insurance game. And I'm at Duluth, Georgia, and we're in this training. And we leave the event, and they take our 100 brokers, and we're going to Atlanta for dinner. And if you know that road, it's a 2-hour traffic. It's terrible, coming all the way down from Duluth. In the bus, we're driving. I'm on the phone straight 2 hours, just calling my clients and calling my sales guys. For 2 hours straight, I'm on the phones. Next call, next call, next call. And I don't speak soft. I'm loud, so people are looking at me like, what an annoying guy this is, right? And then we get to the restaurant, we have dinner, and then we come back up. And I'm on the phones again for 2 hours because I'm East Coast. Look at this guy showing off, like, yeah, like as if you work like this all the time. 7, 8 years ago, I get an email from one of the guys that was on the bus. And he says, you may not remember me, but I was on that bus one day when we were driving back, and I was part of the crowd that said, look at this arrogant guy making all these calls, thinking like, those old earpiece stuff that we used to put on, what a show-off you are, like acting like you're better than us. He says, now I realize 20 years later, you weren't showing off. You were actually making calls. And look at us now, right? He's kind of being very transparent about it. So meaning, if you do the right thing and you're showing up with data, you're treating people fairly, of course you're going to create enemies in the way, but enough people are going to realize who you are, and they're going to tell the story behind closed doors. And eventually, all those guys behind closed doors are going to say, listen, man, I don't know, but like the other day we're at the house and we're having dinner. This was like a couple months ago. And you're like, yeah, he's been with me for 19 years. How have you guys been together for this many years? Oh, when he was chosen as secure, and I said, no, I want him to be the one, not the other one. Remember this whole story that we're having a conversation? Yeah. How long has she been with you? Well, it used to be somebody else, but I said I want her. How long has she been with you? 18 years. What? Yeah. Why are they with you for this long? People don't sit for 18, 19 years if you don't treat them properly. These are the stories that eventually come out where somebody realizes. So if you do your part properly, if you come through and the numbers validates, eventually the entire market's going to sit there and say, look, I don't care how much shit you want to talk about this person. Mm-hmm. He's a real McCoy.
Your podcast is done in a vault.
Yes.
Why?
So I host an event once you're called the vault, because to me, everything in life is trying to crack the code.
Okay.
Right? You're trying to crack the code. And so years ago, I told Mario, I have a book coming out in the month of September, a fiction book I've been working on for 13 and a half years.
Wow.
It's about a secret society that recruits young people and develops them into the future leaders of the world and have access to certain technology that nobody else has, that you can sit there and literally have a 3-hour conversation with people that have been dead for centuries, and you're asking them questions and they're giving you the answers as if they're alive today, having access to today's content and what's happened in history. So take any world leader that's alive, that's dead, and imagine having a combo with them. That's how they shape these great leaders in the future, right? So anyways, that book is coming out in the next few months. The book is called The Academy, but the cover of the book is a vault. Everything to me is in life. All I'm trying to do is, remember one time I asked you a question, when I was interviewing, I asked you a question, I said, so Stephen A., what do you do when you're about to call out somebody and you know you're going to go hard on them the next day? What do you do to still maintain that relationship and do your job without pissing them off so they keep talking to you if there's other stories you want to get their calls? Do you remember what you told me?
I don't remember.
I'll never forget what you
said.
I've told this story so many times. You said, if I know I'm going to go hard on somebody, I will simply call them and I'll say, brother, don't watch the show tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just don't watch the show tomorrow, because I'm going to give my strong opinions. You may want to skip it tomorrow.
Yes.
And I can't help
it.
it.
If I have access to them, I definitely will.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you tomorrow, I'm going to go, Magic's your friend. So you and Magic go way back.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to give your feedback, though, right? Yeah. Whatever you think about what's going on in the NBA, that may defer what he has to say, right? Yeah. So I'm just trying to crack the code for what Stephen A. does that's transferable knowledge to me. Mm-hmm. What can I get from him or from him or from him? If we can keep collecting that, then we put that in our vault. Now, our vault is accessible to so many different formulas in life that's good for marriage, business, life, negotiation, communication. Now my arsenal, now my strengths are getting better and better, and I'm more useful in the marketplace.